So there's no excuse in terms of like why they're undone. It's just not someone that's I thought it was, but it's not our ideal team member. Someone who is fully.
All right, welcome to PT Breakfast Club. I'm Jimmy. That's Dave. Tony is missing in action. We'll find him somewhere. He's probably reading a systematic review. You know that guy loves research. Loves it. Dave is here, but he's going to help us track trends before they're cool. That's what we're trying to do perpetually in life. That's what these social apps do, right? What's cool now? What's going to be cool 20 minutes from now? What is out? What's over? In 2026, we're looking at like a peptide rush. This is all the rage now. It's not. This is the same thing, but different. It's a different flavor. Why brands are being told to go live. Gee, I wonder who saw that trend 3 years ago. And why people are spending 50 grand on events just to post a recap video that gets 312 views, 3 comments, all from Copa. We want to talk about that too. The trust economy is shifting. Gary Vee wrote a book about it several years ago. Seth Godin has talked about it almost ad nauseum. Consumers don't wait for permission. They don't automatically trust credentials, and they definitely don't watch recap videos. I see, especially with CSM, all the recap videos because there's CapCut. It's so easy. Just take a bunch of pictures and make a recap video. No one cares about your recap. They want to learn something unless it's funny. So the question is, are PTs adapting or defending? We'll get into it. But today we've got a new sponsor to kick things off. It's just in line with our topics today. Let's welcome to the show Authority Crunch.
Oh, more cereals. Let's go.
You got to start your day off with Authority Crunch. Authority Crunch now with 40% more credentials per serving. The only breakfast cereal fortified with advanced degrees, framed certificates, and mild professional insecurity. Each spoonful contains 12 continuing education credits and just a hint of superiority. Side effects may include correcting strangers at dinner parties and starting sentences with, well, actually. Authority Crunch, because if they don't trust you, at least they'll know you're certified. I know a lot of people in this profession are eating 2 bowls of Authority Crunch before they get going in the morning. All right, so let's talk about this peptide. Was this you or Tony?
I sent that over. I also want to float a couple hooks for today or for future episodes because there's some other topics I forgot to send over. So things that hit home to me, the things I sent are kind of like national or things that we get to talk about in terms of like live video and private practices getting more local attention or regional attention. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. So on my show, I did a solo episode recently. I had I won't say the therapist's name, but like I've talked about it a little bit online or whatever, but one of our staff physical therapists 2 weeks ago resigned because they did not want to sign a corrective action plan. So basically like we want to have like, there was a chronic history of late documentation. There were emails from me, text from me about, hey, you saw this person 15, 20 times and there's 2 notes done. Like what's going on here? So I didn't have leverage in terms of better or more physical therapists at the time last year to replace this physical therapist. So I kept this therapist on board. I didn't fire it, right? So had to at the time. So for multiple reasons, they just didn't want to sign the corrective action plan. The reason, as an HR example, the HR corrective action plan is like, had them sign that because then they agree on every little thing, like documentation done within 24 hours, and then every other role and responsibility, they sign off on every little thing or whatever. So that's one thing to maybe tease and talk about. With that, one of my new full-time physical therapists created a video jogging in Central Park. He created a digital asset for the practice. It was never in his job description. I did not ask him to do it. We never even talked about it. He just like sent it over. So I was blown away with that. I posted that last week. That was incredible. That was awesome. He did voiceover. He's training for a half marathon coming up, I think, in April or something.
Is this Wolfhammer?
This is Wolfhanger, yeah. So he was doing some intervals. He was running in Central Park, and it was beautiful, like the skyline and the snow on the ground. And obviously anyone like me or him, anyone that's running, like you're huffing and puffing. So he recorded it. He did a voiceover later, and then sent me the video with. Also, he sent a ChatGPT caption description and the hashtag. It was literally like done for me.
There you go.
And then like, let me just hit the publish button. So I go from like, and this is every practice owner watching or listening. It's like every 6 hours or every day or every, week by week, day by day, there's like these challenges and like these lows, then these highs. It's just like, this is the life of a business owner. With that as another hook, I was thinking, so this therapist might be the therapist that's leaving, had some good relationships with some of our clients. And we're trying to navigate the transition. The therapist had left abruptly without the normal 2 weeks notice, without what I've done. And even the therapist that came on board with us recently, he gave 4 weeks notice elsewhere and then came over to us. The therapist that left that did not want to sign the corrective action plan gave no notice, effective immediately, effective, today, which was, I think it was like February 11th. So it was like 2 weeks ago or something, 3 weeks ago. So another thing for us to talk about maybe when Tony's here is, or we can do it today or some other time.
We have to.
How can I and HQ or the practice or whatever do things to keep the relationship with our patients, which is, it doesn't matter if you're brick and mortar or if you are mobile, in terms of whether it's check-ins, it's some admin or the practice owner or the CEO or whoever are calling in almost like the quality assurance type calls, and not just like a text or an email, but like calling our patients and clients saying like, hey Jimmy, how's it going with Dr. Tom or whoever? Like, how's it going? Is there anything that we can help you with? You need some, I don't know, bands from Amazon. We'll send those over. Whatever. The things that we've done in the past, like, oh, it's your birthday and we have a chocolate cake coming your way with your name on it in icing and a card written by the team or whatever, something like that. So I use ChatGPT. That's another thing where you can go into kind of like anywhere from like a $50, $25 to $50 budget up to like $1,500, $2,000 budget, paintings, engravings, memories, golf trips, like all these things that now I'm thinking of is how do I implement this moving forward so that not if when a staff therapist leaves, but when a staff therapist leaves, how do we maintain continuity of care and attempt to try to keep that patient and client within our ecosystem instead of them leaving or having the therapist treat that patient directly, right? And now we have contractually that our therapists are not going to be, they're agreeing to not treat patients that they meet through us for X amount of years, whatever, like a non-solicitation type of thing. So I know I threw a lot at you. I also sent you last night or today a bunch of topics, and everything that I just said was, I give you no heads up on the topics, but this is live. This is the beauty of being live.
So we have to stay with this. We have to stay with this because this is emotionally charged and it's right now. So you were going through this corrective action plan, right? So first of all, you saw something that was going a way you didn't want it to go. You're the for months. And you're like, hey, listen, and you're probably sitting there because I know you well enough to be like, okay, how can this be a win for not just the business? You got to make it a win for them too. Like, essentially, hey, what's up? Like, I see this thing, it's not happening. Like, what's up? Like, that's a great first start, right? So when you tried to reach out to be like, what's up? What was sort of the response? Like, was there a response? Like, hey, you're not holding up your end of the bargain. This isn't like you're pulling the rug out or you invented a new thing to be a jerk. You're like, you're not getting your stuff done. That is quite literally the bare minimum of the job. What happened when like that sort of what's up thing?
Unfortunately, eventually there was like a little bit of accountability. There was like 25 to 50% of accountability on the staff therapist part. I approach these things through what Sturdy McKee calls like the 3 questions. So what you just said, hey, what happened? Like, hey, I noticed that you have a bunch of notes that are not completed. What happened or what's going on? What do you need from me? And how can we make sure this doesn't happen again? Those approximate 3 questions.
No, right away.
But exactly. So I approached it that way. So over text, over email, there was a documentation, paper trail of all this, not just phone calls. That it was basically like, oh yeah, like I'm dealing with this, that, whatever. Like it was just excuses. Like even if it's family stuff, this is still your job roles and responsibilities. Like, are you you're booking clients, you are leaving your apartment, you're going to see those patients and clients either in our office or home visit. So you're traveling to them. And then at some point you come home or during the day and you dictate or you quickly write. And we use an EMR that's one of the easiest ones on the market in terms of ease of use. So there's no excuse in terms of like why they're undone. It's just not someone that's I thought it was, but it's not our ideal team member, someone who is fully understands and takes accountability with all the roles and responsibilities. But this one is documentation is like, you have to do this at any job at anywhere in the country. So it's not even unique to us.
So what's up? That was the first question. What was the second question? I know the third one was, how can I help? What do you need from me?
Yeah, you just said it. You just said, so what happened, or hey, what's going on?
When you were on What's Up, was like, because this is where being a good human and being a good like business owner like cross, which is like being a good human is like, is everything okay? Because that person might come back to you and be like, my spouse is sick, or I'm sick, or my mom died, and that explains quite literally everything. Maybe they don't want to talk about it. Maybe they're like, I can power through. Maybe they're like scared, like this is my job. But like the last part of their day is falling off. You don't know. That's the lesson. You don't know. So step one, brilliant for Sturdy, brilliant for you doing this. It's just like, what's going on? Like, I see this. Am I seeing this right? Maybe it's a computer issue. They're hitting, I'm making this up. They're hitting submit. It's not going through. And you're like, oh, dude, my bad. I thought I was doing the thing. And you're like, got it. Problem solved. Now we're still cool. Because you're treading on emotional, social capital at this point. Because they're like, is Dave a dick? And you're like, hey, man, I'm trying to run a business that you're getting paid out of. So if this ship goes down, you're getting wet too, my friend. So like that's step one. So like you got like 25% ownership. Like essentially it was like a brush off. Like either they didn't want to talk about it or they were like, you spotted me. I was coach. Now I'm sort of my hands in the cookie jar. My hands, I'm not doing the notes. So then so step two is like, what do you need from me? Like, do you need to like logistics? Like, do you need to learn how to use the AI better? Because we're now in 2026 and this should be 4.5 minutes per session or something.
Right. Exactly. In terms of how they would answer what happened or what's going on, it was kind of like a little wishy-washy. There wasn't like even, oh, I forgot or my bad, or like it wasn't like confronted directly. But then on the second question of like, what do you need from me is a great, especially for this scenario, is a great question because you, Jimmy, you and everyone else watching or listening, like we know this. No one is going to help you with your documentation. Why is that, Jimmy?
Because it's your job.
Because it's your documentation.
Now, if there's an issue, like how can I help? The thing doesn't right. That's something someone else could help with. But like you jumping in the pilot seat and powering through, that's what the money's for.
Right. So there was no acceptance of my help. Well, there was no acceptance of the second answer of what do you need from me? Because they were smart enough to realize it's almost not that it's a trap question, but it's like, that I can't help you because you did the visits, you met the patients, you treated I don't know what's in your head. Right. So I literally can't help you co-pilot your documentation. I can't help you write it.
Right.
We talked about using ChatGPT without patients' names, and you could do a dictated brain dump of the visit and then say, write this up for me in a formal SOAP note, and ChatGPT does it in 30 seconds or whatever. Right. So it's very, very easy. There is no excuse. No. Then you could just, if you could copy and paste the ChatGPT SOAP note into the 4 sections of the SOAP inside of the medical record. Very easy. So very simple.
Did you even get to question 3, which is how do we help this? Like it's not like how do we stop this from happening again? You didn't even know if it was from where you were looking. It's just going to keep happening. There was no acceptance of the problem. Like
there was no acceptance. There was no firm accountability of. And this is what I'm going to do moving forward. I'm going to make sure that every note is done within 24 to 48 hours. By the way, this is just what a lot of businesses, I don't know how it was when you were at Fox Rehab, but this is what most businesses have therapists and team members sign in terms of acknowledging your roles. No, just initially when you join a company, like here's your roles and responsibilities, right?
That is step one in communications, which is like, make sure we're both on the same page. Because if you think I'm supposed to do 1, 2, 3, and I think I'm supposed to do 1, 2, I'm not going to do 3 because it's not expected. But you're like, hey man, like Fox, and this is the only organization I worked in long term. They had an entire department for quality assurance. Like they had these things that you're talking about, like quadruple redundancy program, because they were like, this is the product. So they had teams of people and procedures for these things, as I'm sure other organizations do as well.
Yeah. So in terms of what do you need from me, it's a good question. But in this case, it's like, it's not like if there was a challenging patient or client that, I don't know, said something offensive to a therapist, that's when the therapist does need me or someone on my team to kind of be there to help support them through it. Maybe we need to fire the patient or client. Like we've done that before.
Yeah.
They're not professional. Maybe they have some mental health component where they're just not able to participate fully in our style of in-home physical therapy, whatever it is. So in those situations, we're there for you. This is a topic with individual documentation. Hey, what do you need from me? Like, I went through the 3-question process on purpose because it's just good for me to do reps on it. But there's no owner that like we have the easiest EMR basically on the market for
your visits being recorded.
You have all your the visits being recorded was only since January or like mid-January. So that's
like
new.
What I mean is like, you have an audio version of it to like make it to help you get your notes done. Like you are quite literally handing them all the tools. You're not handing them axes, you're handing them chainsaws. And you're like, I want you to get your job done. I want you to not be bogged down by this so you can be you with a great personality, because that's the service. And they were still not okay. It was still not okay. Were they just mentally checked out and this was them quiet quitting?
The thing that it could be, the thing that doesn't make sense is throughout 2025, by the way. This was like like summer of 2025. So this was way overdue. During summer 2025 there, and I did an episode just on my own on my show about showing like a screen share of a spreadsheet that I used with the staff therapist. I did the episode with Dr. Ben Boggy on the Dave Kittle show, and I had a spreadsheet, and it was just like on the left column it was let me go this way. On the left column it was the patient's names, which obviously when I did the episode with Ben Boggy those were redacted, but it was the patient's names, and then on the right column it was how many visits that they had done, right? So if it was like 8 visits or 15 or 10 or 4 or whatever. And in the beginning of 2025, this therapist was like all green. Like it was like 8, 10, 15, like 20, like full plans of care. People were achieving the results and the outcomes that they wanted to initially. And then throughout like either late spring or into the summer of 2025, it was like 1 visit, 3 visits, 2 visits, 1 visit, 4 visits, 6 visits, 1 visit, 2 visits. It was like,
yeah, they're batting average.
People were dropping off. So then on the spreadsheet, it was like red. And then it was like, 23 visits. Awesome. Like amazing. And then 2 visits. It was just, so it was like a lot of red. It wasn't 100% red, but it was a lot of red in terms of people not completing their plans of care. At that point, the therapist was, and this is very easy for many practice owners to fall into the trap. The therapist was saying, I need more new patients.
Right. So let's give him more.
And I'm looking at the spreadsheet and I'm like, this is a leaky bucket. You are the leaky bucket. Right. So if I put more new patients into the leaky bucket, what happens on based off of the percentages of the spreadsheet that I'm looking at?
More misses.
Right. So there were documentation issues happening around this time when they had a little bit more gaps in their schedule because patients were dropping off. That's the crazy thing, which is they had extra time to do the documentation then. So there is literally no explanation.
We'll go full baseball because you're a baseball guy. This is somebody who had a great average and was getting on base, and then all of a sudden something happened. And we don't know what. It's also maybe a lot of still yard.
Yeah, we don't know.
Could just be whatever. And then their average dipped, and then their answer was, I need more bats. And you're like, yes, but I need to know what's going on. I need you in the cage, or I need you to talk to me in the dugout first. You need to know why you're not hitting. Are you injured? Is that what it is?
It's like
I want to be on this team.
If there's a bad hitch in the swing, right? You're rolling over. You're rolling over. You're hitting like little ground balls on third baseman. You're rolling over, and everything that you hit is a ground ball. You're out, right? And that's like saying I need to go into the cage and keep swinging this way, without making corrections, without making changes. I just want to go into the cage. I need more reps in the cage, and I'm going to just keep rolling over, hitting little dinky ground balls in third base.
The wrong way. You don't need more reps doing it the wrong way. That's not what we need.
Exactly.
So I need you to tell me what's wrong. Do you need more? We have a hitting coach. Are you using them? No. Oh, okay. So you just need more at-bats. No, those are my at-bats. You earn those. You earn at-bats. Huh. All right. And then all right. Well, you didn't plan though. So then what happened?
Exactly. Okay. So now, there was some other things where I took an existing patient from that therapist's calendar, census, whatever, because the previous 5 or 6 weeks, when I covered this patient in December for him, he was away. I covered this patient and I treated the patient Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 3 weeks in December. This therapist comes back right around Christmas when we left town. So then they come back. And so between the time of December 25th until when I took this patient away from him, it was about 5 weeks. And there were no weeks where he treated this patient 3 times a week. Now, the patient wanted this amount of time 3 times a week. They clinically need it. The family is okay paying for it. The home health aide welcomes it. There was no resistance. This person needed it, wanted it. They're paying out of pocket for it. And he's not doing what I was just covering and what the plan was initially, right? So what's the plan from the evaluation or the recent progress note? It's this person needs, this level of treatment, this level of accountability and help. They're welcoming it. They're not resistant at all. There is literally no reason why. And so we're looking and I go, so a lot of these weeks you saw this patient like once or twice. And I said, even last week. So I was like, last week it was, the time it was January. It was February. No, it was January 21st. So January 21st, I think, was a Wednesday. And I'm like, what about last week? You only saw this patient one time on Wednesday. Like, what happened on Monday and Friday? He was working a part-time job somewhere else. And he said, I can't even believe believe that he admitted this, Jimmy. I was working at my other job and I was covering other physical therapists there. Yeah. And I'm like, so I take this patient. The new therapist actually lives 2 blocks away from this patient. He lives 53 minutes away from this patient via the subway. So I go, okay, this new patient, I'm now moving this client of ours that's existing, that they're moving over to this other new physical therapist calendar, effective today, tomorrow, whatever, like effective immediately. He's going to take them over. Right to jail. What was this meme? What was this from? SNL?
This is from Parks and Rec. It's
Parks.
Parks and Rec is underrated. This is jail. Immediately to jail. Also, jail. Go to jail. You go to jail. No, you're off. This is where if you were a baseball coach, if you only had 9 players and you're like, but I need to keep the guy on, you start batting with 8 people and you take an out in 3 innings. Sorry.
This is when you put 2 outfielders in left center and right center, and you play 2 outfielders.
Make the second baseman play a little shallow. So this is setting a signal to everybody who's on your team. Although, it still is. I don't know if the rest of your team can see this because you are like concierge and you're not huddling every day, right? These people, the rest of the team might not know this, right?
Some of them know it.
Gotta go. Sorry. You did, but and it's easy for me to say because it's like whatever. But man, jail, immediately to jail, right to jail.
Yeah. Now, of course, there's California is one of the most restrictive, protective states for employees, and New York is, I don't know, probably right after that, maybe in the top 5 or so. But so he was a W-2, although was then going from still a W-2, but was working full time with us. Then was like part time because I'm like, you're working for this other place. Why? Because they had extra time in their schedule. So they were W-2, but they were paid like per visit, if that makes sense. So when they were the leaky bucket and they were having drop-offs, now they have open spots on their calendar. So now they're making less money.
No.
And then they sought more work elsewhere that was like a little bit of a steady hourly or part-time salary, whatever compensation at some other place.
No, you're shitty here. Now you want to go be shitty at someone else's job? Good. Go be shitty full-time there.
Right. So now I have, fast forward now to like January into February. So now I have leverage, right? So I have the full-time physical therapist. He's, has a complete full schedule. I also had and new physical therapists moving forward. Him, the newer one, and moving forward are basically like contractually obligated. Like the ones that have like the base salary plus the upside performance pay, they sign a non-moonlighting agreement or contract, meaning there's a base salary for you plus the upside of performance pay, and so therefore you can't do Luna or you can't do any side gigs. You can't go work part-time or you can't work somewhere else. You can't have. Sometimes patients will be like, "Hey, can I just pay you directly? Like, because this is kind of expensive. Can I just pay you directly?" Like,
right.
That's another thing with the recording, right? So they know that they're not able to do that moving forward. The therapist that we're talking about that had the issues, I did not have that in place. So, it's a learning point. But anyway, we're learning as we go.
So this person is gone. This person has been separated.
Yeah. So I think it was like February 11th or so was the resignation. I emailed back immediately. I accept your resignation because it just for business owners, especially W-2, of course, like if they are justified in being terminated, then we should terminate them. But it's so much easier for someone like to not have it be in court or lawyers or whatever.
Oh yeah,
it's so much easier to have the W-2 resign on their own terms instead of us terminate them. So here's the thing. So I had all the paper trail of the documentation of the email saying, "Hey, this person's late. You saw this person 10, 15 times. There's 2 notes done. Like, what's going on? What happened? Whatever." So the next step via my HR person, the next step in that was get them to sign this corrective action plan. Then now the plan is we're going to review this every 2 to 4 weeks or whatever, and we're going to look at your documentation. And if you don't do this in a certain timeline, I forget whatever the future timeline would have been, like the next month or whatever, the next month or two, can't be more than 30, 60, 90 days. And if the documentation is not timely at that point, then I would have all the calls in the world to terminate them. They know that. They understood why I was having them sign the game. They understood why I was having them sign the corrective action plan. And so they didn't sign it. How would you, I know that I have certain words around this, but how would you describe that? Like someone who knew what's going on and they didn't want to sign it. How would you frame that or describe that?
Copping out. Like, I don't know, you know what's coming and you're like, hey, well, I'm going to be a 3-year-old and lay in aisle. I'm just going to lay down on the floor and you're going to have to drag me. I'm not going to walk. I'll buy an extra week. I don't know. I'll get paid an extra week.
Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE@CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.